Once this rocket launches and deploys its payload, SpaceX will then have more than 5,000 of its Starlinks on orbit. Here you see the end of the big vent. LOX loading will begin in just over apologies, Siri on my iPhone decided that I was talking to it. I most assuredly wasn't. But we can all relate with that. Now T minus 15 minutes, 48 seconds and counting. Now T minus 15 minutes, 17 seconds and counting. As we're coming into the last 15 minutes of this count, let's go ahead and talk about the vehicle that's going to be launching tonight. The Falcon 9, standing tall at just under 230 feet, about 70 meters in height, with a diameter of 3.66 meters or 12 feet. Most of that made up by the first stage of the rocket, the bottom 2/3. This particular first stage, as we've mentioned earlier, has flown 7 times before. Tail number 1077 going for its 8th flight tonight. At the base of the first stage are those 9 Merlin engines, which burn a combination of rocket-grade kerosene and liquid oxygen, producing 1.7 million pounds of thrust. Around that engine compartment, you can see the black carbon fiber landing legs that will be deployed as the booster cruises in for a landing on the drone ship. Just read the instructions. Above the first stage is the inner stage. It's a composite structure consisting of a aluminum honeycomb core surrounded by carbon fiber. Notable in part for those hypersonic grid fins you see there at the bottom of the inner stage. These titanium winglets allow for steering as the Falcon 9 makes its way back down towards the drone ship, like it will tonight, or back to landing zone 1 as it does sometimes. In fact, SpaceX has shifted its launch and landing protocols, so now with crewed missions, as it started with AX2, or excuse me, AX2, and will do so again, presumably on Axiom's 3rd flight to the International Space Station, as well as the Crew 7 mission. The booster will return to landing zone 1, and those winglets help it do that. At the top of the inner stage are 3 mechanical latches that attach to the second stage. At first stage, main engine cutoff, or MECO. High pressure helium is used to release those latches, and 4 pneumatic pushers ensure that clean separation. The second stage engine nozzle also housed inside here. Speaking of that second stage, powered by a single Merlin vacuum engine, or an MVAC engine, equipped with that large nozzle optimized for burns in the vacuum of space, and it produces more than 200,000 pounds of thrust. It will be fired twice on today's mission, sending those 23 Starlink satellites into their intended orbit. The MVAC engine, like the first stage, burns the same propellant mix of RP1 and LOX, and it will ignite for a 3rd and final time after the satellites deploy. That's for the deorbit burn, forcing that upper stage back into the atmosphere where it burns up and eliminates the risk of any unwanted space debris. And last but not least, we've got the payload fairings up top that contain the 23 Starlink satellites. They're made up of a carbon composite material. They're 13.1 meters or 43 feet tall and 5.2 meters or 17.1 feet in diameter. The 2 halves will be scooped up by the recovery vessel Bob after they float down gently under parachutes. Like the first stage booster, they will be brought back into Port Canaveral, refurbished, and reused on a future flight. Now T-minus 11 minutes, 33 seconds and counting. Now T-minus 10 minutes, 19 seconds and counting. I want to thank Kevin Kelly for the $5 super chat donation. Thank you so much for supporting us, Kevin. Really appreciate that. Also want to thank Griffin B for timeline after the Falcon 9 lifts off. The T0 liftoff still targeting 7:20 tonight, as SpaceX is already in the fueling process. They are committed to going for that attempt at 7:20. For some reason, they do need to call a hold. Then they would stand down and look at the 24-hour turnaround. But again, assuming they are able to lift off in just a little over 7 minutes, then at T plus 1 minute, 12 seconds, the rocket would pass through the greatest point of aerodynamic pressure, otherwise known as max Q. At T plus 2 minutes, 26 seconds, that's when the 9 Merlin engines will cease firing. First stage main engine cutoff, otherwise known as MECO. 3 seconds later, first and second stages will separate, followed up at T plus 2 minutes, 35 seconds for second stage engine ignition SES-1, when that Merlin vacuum engine will come to life. T plus 3 minutes, 5 seconds, the payload fairings will jettison away from the second stage, exposing the 23 Starlink satellites to the vacuum of space for the first time. At T plus 6 minutes, 12 seconds, the first stage entry burn ignition will begin. It'll last 20 seconds. Hopefully we'll be able to see that on one of our tracking cameras. We'll keep an eye out for that. At T plus 8 minutes and 5 seconds, the first stage landing burn will begin. That's unfortunately a little bit too far out for our cameras to see, but we'll get onboard views from SpaceX. At T plus 8 minutes, 26 seconds, the first stage landing will happen. Followed up at T plus 8 minutes, 39 seconds, when the Merlin vacuum engine will cut off for SECO-1, and it'll go into a coast phase. It'll stay in that coast phase until T plus 54 minutes, 9 seconds, when the engine will reignite for just a quick 2-second burn, setting up for Starlink deployment at T plus 1 hour, 5 minutes, 38 seconds. As it stands, we are T plus 5 minutes, 14 seconds and counting to the liftoff of this Starlink mission. As we enter into the final 5 minutes, I want to thank one of our new channel members, Barbara Bazemore Kiska. Apologies, Barbara, if I mispronounced your name, but thank you so much for joining us at the pad leader level. Barbara, like our other channel members, now has access to 4K live views of this and other launches from the Cape, both Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, as well as member-only videos and discounts at our online shop, shop.spaceflightnow.com. Also want to thank Wayne Martin for a very generous $30 super chat. Thank you so much, Wayne, for supporting us at that level. T minus 4 minutes, 17 seconds and counting. Want to quickly show you a little bit of a celestial view. This is the planet Jupiter, of course. Those little 2 dots that are right above the planet, just to the upper right, those are two of Jupiter's moons, Ganymede and Io. To the bottom left, you're looking at Europa. Again, NASA is going to be sending the Europa Clipper spacecraft to explore Europa next October. Top right, you see the moon Callisto. Now T-minus 3 minutes, 44 seconds and counting. Now less than 3 minutes to liftoff. Just a quick bit of housekeeping. You'll notice our countdown clock is a little bit ahead of what you see on SpaceX's time at the bottom of your screen.
Stage 1 lock float is complete.
Our clock is in real time here. The SpaceX time is on a little bit of a delay, but you see those clamp arms open and the transporter erector now pulled away from the Falcon 9 rocket there, in position to support liftoff in less than 2.5 minutes. Now less than 2 minutes to lift off. T-minus 1 minute, 50 seconds and counting. Appreciate
Stage
the
2
more
lock
than
float is
30,000
complete.
of you who are joining us live. And we'll come back and read those super chats a little bit after liftoff. But know that I am seeing those, and I will acknowledge them in just a little bit here. Now less than a minute and a half to lift off. As we approach the final minute of the count, T-minus 1 minute, the Falcon 9's flight
Ground
computers
close up.
will take control. Stages 1 and 2 will pressurize for flight. Now less than 1 minute.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Need to call the vehicles in startup. You should hear the launch director give the go for launch in just a few seconds. Now T-minus 33 seconds and counting.
Go for launch.
And you heard the call from the launch director. We are go for launch. Now coming up in 20 seconds. Keeping an eye on the countdown. This is the point at which the mission scrubbed yesterday, so the count is continuing to press forward as we are now 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket supporting the Starlink 6-25 minutes. The Falcon 9 has cleared the lightning towers. Now 15 seconds into flight. Now T plus 25 seconds. We're starting to hear the roar of the Falcon 9 here at the press site. Let's listen in. Now T plus 48 seconds and counting. This tracking view we're seeing from our own Adam Bernstein. Now 1 minute into flight. At this point, the Falcon 9 is approaching, traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Here you hear that call out. Now T plus 1 minute, 21 seconds and counting. Some great tracking views from Adam there in the field. At T plus 1 minute, 30 seconds and counting.
MVAC chill has started.
Now T plus 2 minutes, 17 seconds and counting. We're approaching main engine cutoff or MECO, getting some great tracking views and colors. There you see main engine cutoff. Followed by stage separation. And then you'll see the Merlin vacuum engine come to life momentarily.
Main engine cutoff.
There you see it. Now T plus 2 minutes,
separation
45 seconds and counting. You might be able to see the reflection of the payload fairings as they fall away in just a few moments. Those two boxes on the right-hand side of your screen are from the SpaceX feed on a little bit of a delay there. That's why you're seeing it slightly behind our live pictures there on the left-hand side of your screen. A little bit of a jellyfish effect we're seeing this evening. And there you see those payload fairings falling away in this tracking view.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Glinting from the light of the Merlin vacuum engine there. Maybe a little bit of sunlight as well. The sun set not too terribly long ago. Those Starlink satellites now exposed to the vacuum of space. As we continue to follow the second stage engine burn at T plus 3 minutes, 42 seconds and counting. The box in the upper right-hand corner of your screen,
Both vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
See the hypersonic grid fins that are guiding the first stage booster, getting ready to start its entry burn. Just a little bit here. Now T plus 4 minutes, 6 seconds and counting. The next milestone coming up is at T plus 6 minutes, 12 seconds when that entry burn will begin. It'll last 20 seconds or so. These tracking views you're seeing right now coming to us from Pete. Appreciate you, Pete. Now T plus 4 minutes, 45 seconds and counting. Now 5 minutes into flight. Again, if you didn't catch what I said earlier, the reason that our count up clock is different from SpaceX's, ours is in real time. The SpaceX clock at the bottom of the screen, that is on a bit of a delay. So that's why there's a discrepancy and why you were seeing some of the events happen on our tracking cameras.
Both vehicles continue to follow nominal trajectories.
A little bit ahead of what you're seeing in the SpaceX feed. Those are onboard views. The top right-hand box is from the first stage. The bottom is the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. You can see a little bit of the curve of the Earth with just a little bit of sunlight providing an accent to it. Really nice picture there. Now 6 minutes into flight. In about 10 seconds, the first stage entry burn will begin. There we go. And Pete getting
Stage 1 FTS has saved.
great tracking views of this. We'll see it on the SpaceX view right about now. At T plus 6 minutes, 23 seconds and counting, or excuse me, 33 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
The entry burn is now completed in real time. It'll wrap up momentarily on the SpaceX feed as well.
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Things continue to move nominally in this flight as the first stage getting ready to make its landing on the drone ship. Just read the instructions here in just a couple of minutes. That landing burn will begin at T plus 8 minutes 5 seconds, so just a little less than a minute from now. It should land right about T plus 8 minutes 26 seconds. Unfortunately, because of how far out it
Both
is
vehicles continue to follow nominal trajectories.
how low it will be on the horizon compared to where we are, we won't be able to see that from our tracking cameras from either Pete, Chuck, or Adam, but we do have the onboard views from SpaceX, the left-hand side of your screen now, showing the first stage. It's dark because it is in nighttime from the booster's
Stage 1
perspective, of
transonic.
course. Right-hand side is that Merlin vacuum engine continuing on its burn. Looking back at the pad there as we await the landing burn beginning. In real time, it's
Stage 2
already
turbo
underway.
vents.
On the SpaceX feed, it'll come up starting in just about 1 second.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There we go. It passes prologue. The box on the right-hand side of the screen will flip to a view from the drone ship. There it goes.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
You can see it coming to view from the perspective of the first stage. And touchdown of booster 1077, having made its
Stage 1
eighth
landing confirmed.
flight. Launch and landing now in the books.
MVAC shutdown.
At T plus 9 minutes and counting. Hear the call for MVAC shutdown, that upper stage going into a coast phase.
Nom insertion.
Just one last quick little peek at that